let us continue with chapter 12. Chapter 12, yes. In which a search is organized and Piglet nearly meets the Heffalump again. Pooh was sitting in his house one day, counting his pots of honey, when there came a knock on the door. 14, said Pooh. Oh, come on in. 14, or was it 15? Bother, that's muddled me. Hello, Pooh, said Rabbit. Hello, Rabbit. 14, wasn't it? What was? My pots of honey that I was counting. 14, that's right. Are you sure? No, said Rabbit. Does it matter? I'd just like to know, said Pooh humbly, so as I can say to myself, I've got 14 pots of honey left. Or 15, as the case may be. It's sort of comforting. Well, let's call it 16, said Rabbit. What I came to say was, have you seen Small anywhere about? I don't think so, said Pooh. And then, after thinking a little more, he said, Who is Small? One of my friends and relations, said Rabbit carelessly. This didn't help Pooh much, because Rabbit had so many friends and relations, and of such different sorts and sizes, that he didn't know whether he ought to be looking for Small at the top of an oak tree, or in the petal of a buttercup. I haven't seen anybody today, said Pooh, not as to say, Hello, Small. No, oh. I haven't seen anybody today, Pooh. Anybody today, said Pooh, not so as to say, Hello, Small, too. Did you want him for anything? I don't want him, said Rabbit. But it's always useful to know where a friend and relation is, whether you want him or whether you don't. Oh, I see, said Pooh. Is he lost? Well, said Rabbit, nobody has seen him for a long time, so I suppose he is. Anyhow, and he went on importantly, I promised Christopher Robin I'd organize a search for him, so come on. Pooh said goodbye affectionately to his 14 pots of honey, and hoped there were 15, and he and Rabbit went out to the forest. Now, said Rabbit, this is a search. I've organized it. Then what to it? Said Pooh. Organize it, which means, well, it's when you do a search and when you don't, all look in the same place at once. So I want you, Pooh, to search by the 6 pine trees and then work your way towards Owl's house and look for me there. Do you see? No, said Pooh. What? Then I'll see you at Owl's house in about an hour's time. Is Piglet organized too? We all are, said Rabbit, and he went off. As soon as Rabbit was out of sight, Pooh remembered that he'd forgotten to ask who Small was, and whether he was a sort of friend and relation who settled on one's nose, or was a sort who got trodden on by mistake. And it was too late now. He thought he would begin the hunt by looking for Piglet, and asking him what they were looking for before he looked for it. There's a wonderful picture of Rabbit, Owl, and all of everyone standing there. I think it's quite nice. And it's no good looking at the 6 pine trees for Piglet, said Pooh to himself, but he's been organized in a special place of his own. So I shall have to look for the special place first. I wonder where it is. And he wrote down things in his head like this. Order of looking for things. 1. Special place. To find Piglet. 2. Piglet. To find who Small is. Small. To find Small. Rabbit. To tell Rabbit I found Small. Small again. To tell him I found Rabbit. Which makes it look like a bothering sort of day, thought Pooh, as he stumped along. The next moment the day became very bothering indeed, because Pooh was so busy not looking where he was going that he stepped on a piece of the forest which had been left out by mistake. And he only just had time to think to himself, stepped on a piece of the forest which had been left out by mistake. And he only just as he had time to think to himself, I'm flying. What Owl does. I wonder how you stop. When he stopped. Bump! Ow! Squeaked Pooh something. That's funny, thought Pooh. I said ow without really oohing it. Help! Said a small high voice. That's me again, thought Pooh. I've had an accident, I've fallen down the well, my voice has gone all squeaky and the works before I'm ready for it. Because I've done something to myself inside. Bother! Help! Help! There you are. I say things when I'm not trying, so it must be a very bad accident. And then he thought that perhaps he did try to say things he wouldn't be able to, so to make sure he said loudly, a very bad accident to Pooh Bear. Pooh! Squeaked the voice. It's Piglet, cried Pooh eagerly, where are you? Underneath. Underneath, said Piglet in an underneath sort of way. Underneath what? You, squeaked Piglet, get up. Adorable picture of Pooh sitting on top of Piglet. I don't know if you can see it. It's just wonderful. Oh, that's so cute. Oh, said Pooh, and scrambled up as quickly as he could. Did I fall on you, Piglet? You fell on me, Piglet. On me, said Piglet, feeling himself all over. I didn't mean to, said Pooh sorrowfully. I didn't mean to be underneath, said Piglet sadly. But I'm all right now, Pooh, and I am glad it was you. What happened, said Pooh. Where are we? I think we're in a sort of pit. I was walking along looking for somebody, and then suddenly I wasn't any more, and just when I got up to see where I was, something fell on me, and it was you. So it was, said Pooh. Yes, said Piglet. Pooh, he went on nervously. It came a little closer. Do you think we're in a trap? Pooh hadn't thought about it at all, but now he nodded, for suddenly he remembered how he and Piglet had once made a Pooh trap for heffalumps, and he guessed what had happened. He and Piglet had fallen into a heffalump trap for Poohs. That's what it was. What happens when the heffalump comes? Asked Piglet, trembling, when he had heard the news. Perhaps he won't notice you, Piglet, said Pooh encouragingly, because you're a very small animal. But he'll notice you, Pooh. He'll notice me, and I shall notice him, said Pooh, thinking it out. And we'll notice each other for a long time, and then we'll say, ho ho! Piglet shivered a little bit at the thought of what ho ho, and his ears began to twitch. Oh, what will you say? He asked. Pooh tried to think of something he would say, but the more he thought, the more he felt that there is no real answer to ho ho, said by a heffalump in the sort of the voice a heffalump was going to say it in. I shan't say anything, said Pooh at last. I shall just hum to myself as if I was waiting for something. Then perhaps I'll say ho ho again, suggested Piglet anxiously. Piglet's ears twitched so quickly that he had to lean them against the side of the trap to keep them quiet. We will say it again, said Pooh, and I shall go on humming. And that will upset him, because when you say ho ho twice in a gloating sort of way, and just the other person only hums, you suddenly find that just as you began to say the third time, well, you find what? That it isn't, said Pooh. Isn't what? Pooh knew little of what it meant, but being a bear of very little brain, couldn't think of the words. Well, it just isn't, he said. You mean it isn't ho-ho-ish anymore? Said Piglet hopefully. Pooh looked at him admiringly and said that it was what he meant. If you went on humming all the time because you couldn't go on saying ho-ho forever. But he'll say something else, said Piglet. That's just it, he'll say, what's all this? And I shall say, and this is a very good idea, Piglet, which I have just thought of, I shall say, it's a trap for a heffalump which I have made, and I am waiting in the heffalump to fall in, and I shall go on humming. This will unsettle him. Pooh! Cried Piglet, and now it was his turn to be the admiring one. You've saved us! Have I? Said Pooh, not feeling quite sure. But Piglet was quite sure, and his mind ran on, and he saw Pooh and the heffalump talking to each other, and he suddenly thought, and a little sadly, that it would have been rather nice to have had been Piglet and the heffalump. It would have been rather nice if it had been Piglet and the heffalump talking so grandly to each other, not Pooh, much as he loved Pooh, because he really had more brain than Pooh. And the conversation would go better, and not Pooh were doing one side of it, and he would be comforting afterwards in the evening sides, to look back on the day when he answered to a heffalump, back as bravely as if the heffalump wasn't there. It seemed so easy now, he knew just what he would say. Heffalump, gloatingly. Ho ho! Piglet, carelessly. And tra-la-la, tra-la-la. Heffalump, surprised and not quite sure of himself. Ho ho! Piglet, more carefully still. Tiddle-um-tum, tiddle-um-tum. Heffalump, beginning to say ho ho and turning awkwardly into a cough. What's all this? Piglet, surprised. Hello, this is a trap. I've made it and I'm waiting for Heffalump to fall in it. Heffalump, greatly disappointed. Oh, after a long silence. Are you sure? Piglet, yes. Heffalump, oh, nervously. I thought it was a trap I'd made to catch piglets. Piglet, surprised. Oh no. Heffalump, oh, apologetically. I must have got it wrong then. Piglet, I'm afraid so. I'm sorry. Heffalump, I'd better get going back. Piglet, looking up carelessly. Must you? Well, if you see Christopher Robin anywhere, you might tell him I want him. Heffalump, eager to please. Certainly, certainly. And he hurries off. Pooh, who wasn't going to be there, but we find we can't do without him. Oh, Piglet, how brave and clever you are. Piglet, modestly, not at all, Pooh. And then when Christopher Robin comes, Pooh can tell him all about it. When Piglet was dreaming this happy dream, and Pooh was wondering again whether it was 14 or 15, the search for small animals was still going on all over the forest. Small's real name was Very Small Beetle, but he was called Small for short, and when he was spoken to at all, which was hardly ever, except when somebody said, really small, he had been saying Christopher Robin.